Okay, this is the last video section we have. What I'm going to do is actually I'm going to restart my system since I did all these changes with permissions. We're going to log back in, and I'm going to come in as, if you notice in the last video, we set up 3 users: professor, adjunct, and student, and we assigned them to various groups based on permissions, and then we set up our permissions in our in our file and folder structure. So I'm going to pause this while I'm resetting, and when we come in, I'm going to log into the adjunct, and if we did everything right, the adjunct professor should have access to the L drive, that lab drive, all the data in the lab, all the data in the log file, and in the grades folder they should be able to access the grades but not the date, not the evals. So let's see if we did this correct. Okay, we're back, and as you see, we're back in our login screen. Now this time, you see I have the 3 accounts we made: the student, professor, I didn't change the name, and the adjunct. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and log in as the adjunct, and let's remember the password. It goes Broward #1. Oh, you know what? I just realized that. Okay, let me do this one more time. Let's see. All right. What that error was is, since this is a virtual machine, technically I'm remoting into a virtual. Windows is viewing this as if I'm not at the physical machine, I'm remoting into it. If you guys work with remote desktops, which we're going to be doing something earlier on that, this is what you do for a remote desktop. So it kind of prompts me to say, hey, you're about ready to remote into a system, you better make sure you have access to it. Being that this is a virtual environment, I think it just overrides it and lets me in. If not, I have to go back to the groups. Remember I said the security groups, and just add the users to the remote desktop group or the Hyper-V group. They should be in there by default, but that's one of the idiosyncrasies if you're used to working with VirtualBox versus Hyper-V. Hyper-V, you sometimes have to remember you're technically remoting in, where VirtualBox, it just lets you lock right in. What I'm going to do is, while this builds the profile, we're just going to pause this so I don't take up too much time, and I'll bring it right back once we get to the desktop. Okay, we are logged back in, and let me... Alright, now as you see, I'm logged in as the adjunct. Let me make sure we can see our data. Okay, there's my lab. Okay, I can log in. Go to my logs, I can see all that. Good. I should have full control over this. There's a hello. Actually, I want to see something here. No, I have to go to the command prompt. Batch files, for that one, we got to read in the command prompt. Alright, let's go to course eval. There we go. Don't have permissions. Now, if I click OK, let's see, it might take a moment. If I want to, I can actually log in. Let's see if I do the professor. I should be able to log in. This is basically knowing how you piggyback in. What I'm doing right now is I'm going to basically temporarily say I'm a different user, so I can view this data. So this is good because I won't have to. No, wrong password. Okay, let's see. Wait, there we go. Hey, that's nice to know. Alright, so as you see, let's see if I close out of it, would it do it again? I might still have to, of course, you found no, because it still sees me when we close the window as an admin, or I could put the admin account in. So that's one way how you can, and that's one reason if you're an administrator, you want to safeguard your information, because someone has your information, they can log in. This is usually basically like piggybacking into or through. All right, good, onto your account. But as you saw, it basically, it gave me an access denied, and I had to I had to provide the information to log into it. Let me go ahead and sign out. And if I didn't put in the professor that account information, it would have basically said access denied, you're not going to do it. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to log into the student, and we're going to do the same thing. So let's go to student. Alright, and we'll do the same thing while it builds a profile. I'll just pause it real quick. Okay, we are now logged into the student. So let's see, make sure we got this right. Alright, go to our PC, go to our lab. If I go to grades, let's see. Actually, what I would have done, did I not lock this down? I don't think I locked this down. I think we forgot to lock this down. Let's see. No, because we're authentic, so we do have to remove that. Okay. We'll do this. We'll just we'll have to do this. Change permissions. Alright. Break inheritance, yes. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. We'll go back up. Because really how you want to set this up is at this level, at the top level. Okay. Disable. And we'll go ahead and remove. Okay. Now, fairness, because we don't want to have the student access this, so we'll actually break inheritance, and I'll have to. Okay, as you see now I don't have access to even see it. So if I go to lab, yeah, I would have to log into an admin. So that's really what you want to do. You want to, least privilege, which means the student shouldn't even be able to access any of this data. So I had to just break it there. Again, when you're doing this in a real world environment, you will be doing this at a server level, so it makes it much easier. But now let's see here. Well, let me delete. I did delete. I gotta remodify that, but we'll restore. But yeah, now I don't think this one I had delete privileges. No, they did too. Alright, I have to go and change that away. But again, you can play around with setting up privileges and just playing around with it. Real quick, this is another little quick fun fact. If you're on your page, yes, I know. If you hold the Shift key and then you right click, it will prompt you to open your command prompt. I think in newer Windows it'll prompt you for Hyper-V. So if we want to run the batch file, which it should because we have permissions to do so. I have actually, let me see this. I actually want to see if alright, so let me remove the authenticated users from this lab. I just want to get rid of that. There is security. We're just going to go ahead and just remove authenticated users. No, I don't want to do OneDrive. Okay, so now, alright, that should be better. Okay, alright, no, let's go back out. Alright, so as the student, I should not be able to, yeah, okay, as you see here now, it has the delete with the little, that means you need admin rights or elevator rights. So when you're in a, not in a, now again, for here I have the student, which we're logged in under, has write capabilities. So because of that, I can now, write data. I can modify too. So modify, I can delete it. Now let me see. Let's change this. We'll go ahead and I'm going to take away modify capabilities. I believe modify is oh, okay, good. He doesn't have modify. Read, write. That's it. He can execute. Can't modify. Okay. So go to advanced. We're not inheriting it. Change permissions. Alright, good. Alright. Let's see if I can delete still. No, it lets me delete. I can play around with, I mean, you can play around with permissions, get more in depth, but we're keeping this simple. Like I said, I can write. In fact, I'll give you a great example of this. Go to security. Even though we're inheriting permissions, I'm going to go ahead and okay, let's see. We're inheriting it from the folder, so I need to break it from the folder. Properties, security, edit, yeah. Okay, system, that modify, okay, they don't have modification, they're not admin, they can read, write, okay. There we go. Okay, we go into logs. Okay, now as you see, I had to remove authenticated, which is, again, inherited permissions can be beneficial, but they can also be kind of a pain in the butt, because you can have what's known as privilege creep, what you saw right there. I don't want the quote student to have the ability to delete files, but because even though I broke inheritance at the top, I broke all inheritance, and I removed the authentication user from this root drive, it was still showing on here on the log file. It was still, because it inherited it previously, so I had to go in and to remove it. So inherited permissions can be problematic. And again, I'm doing this really quick on the fly. When you actually build a network or build a system, you build everything from the root level down. In other words, I won't even make a folder until, and this is more on the security side, you don't even start making files and folders until you set the security permissions first on the root drive, which for this will be the L drive. So I would set these permissions first on what I'll have. And again, I will use the least privileged possible. So I might just have these three things on here. Student, I might just have, he won't even have any access to any of this. Well, I'll have to give him some access so he can access a folder, but he might not have any read, modify, nothing. And then as I drill down, I'll start adding as needed. Example. Let's say I want the student to just be able to read the Google file, but I don't want him to be able to add anything to it. Let me just load up. And like right now, he can write to it. So let's go ahead and edit this. And let's see. Okay, I'm going to have to come here to advance. Change permissions. And like I said, what I'm doing here will be considered the practice of least privilege. So let me see, go ahead and view. Okay. I might have to jump in under the admin full account to do this. Don't give him full control. Actually, can I remove him completely? Where's he inheriting it from? That's the... okay, I have to break it. he's getting it from the log file. There we go. Yeah. I don't know why I didn't notice that before. Alright, now let's go ahead and edit. I'm going to take away write privileges, so he can't even write it. He can read it, can't write it. Okay. Now, basically this is what I just did. Again, I'm under the student account. The security level, he has read write privileges on the student account, so he can write, he can read. But when I go into the logs, he can't modify this. Right, so let's see if I do here, and let's see. Will it let us save? Let me see. Let's say access denied. Okay. So yeah, he can't write. No, don't save. But this guy, he can write because he has write privileges for this one. So I can go ahead and resave the file, which it looks like it did. Okay. So now what you can do here, though, if you saw when I went to save it, prompt me, so I can create a new file. I do have, I have write capabilities, or not write. Well, actually, let me see. We took write capabilities away, so will it let me do it? No, I don't have permission either. Okay. Again, you can really start to fine-tune this, mainly in a server environment where I can give it where you can't modify this, but you can make versions of it. Yeah, see, that's empty. There's nothing in there. Go ahead and delete that. Obviously, I can't delete. I'm a student under the student account, so it's probably going to prompt me for admin password. Yeah, there it is. So, as you see, this is working with security. Working with security files or user groups. And again, the whole idea is I'm using groups to do all these modifications. Now think of it this way. As you saw here, I was changing, changing security groups, adding permissions, taking away permissions, and I was just using one group. I was using, IT students. This is why we use security groups. Let's say I have a class of 20 students, and I want to give you access to this lab, and I have to give 20 students access to that file. Think about it, if I had to do everything you see me doing here, but do it 20 times for every student. It gets very confusing, very daunting, where now all I have to worry about is one user group. And even then, with dealing with a user group, you can have permission creeps or some type of go back to here, some mishaps, but it's easier to catch it because you're dealing with a group versus users, and then I just add my users into my group. So we're going to go right back here, and that way, let's say, like right now I have student. Let's see if I have a new member joins the class, right? Just again, just go. Now we'll go shared. Let's just make another user. We'll make this new user. We'll call this student 2. All right. We'll just keep the same password. Okay. Let's say we had an error occurred. Oh, because I'm under as a student. Well, yeah, I have to be an admin to do this, actually. Actually, here, this is another nice little trick for you guys to know. If I type computer management, let's see, run as administrator. Now I'm logged into that, kind of like when you do the control panel. Now I'm logged in as administrator. So I should be able to, and this is ways, when you guys are actually doing system admin work, this is how you can piggyback onto someone without them logging off when you have to jump in to do some type of administration work. So we'll just call you student, student number 2. We'll go ahead and give you, never expires. I think I typed that wrong. Okay. There you go. Now I have student 2. Now again, let's say I had another person joined our group, and I want to give them access to the log folder instead of going to the log, instead of going here and then adding them and setting up their privileges. All I have to do is go to IT students, and I just have to add them. and boom, there we go. Now that student can now access that material. Now maybe student 1 drops out of the class and he no longer want access to it. Now he has no longer access to the lab. He can still log into the system. He just can't access that file and folder. And if I try to go here, actually it might still let me log in because I have to reset my system. Actually, let's try this since we're here. Excuse me. This is another command very popular. You'll use this in an enterprise environment. Just real quick, known as GP update. And what this does is this updates group policies or policies on your system. If I type force, now again, I'm not on a domain control or anything, so this might not work. I mean, I'll still run the command, but I don't know if it will update the policies. But if I was on a network, okay, they update successfully. Now, if I was on a network, it would have already implemented those where I won't have access to these folders. Being that I'm not in a enterprise environment, I might have to reset the system. But yeah, I would have to reset it for it to take command. Because even though I'm logged into the student, oh no, I don't have permissions. Okay, let's see. Okay, alright, I can't get into it. Okay, now it's let's see if it says access denied. No, it still says hello world. Okay, I think I still have to, I probably have to reset the system for it to take effect. But he's no longer, if I go here, security, where the IT student is, student 1 who I'm logged in under is no longer available. So once I restart my system, that policy will take effect and I won't have access to this. At least the student 1 won't. Student 2 will. So that's probably more in depth on security groups and users and how to create users than you probably need to know for the network or for the A+. I mean, you will have to know it. You will have to have an understanding of it. For our final exam, really all I'm going to be having you guys do, and everything's going to be piggybacking. One lab goes into the other one, kind of like how these lectures went. You're pretty much data that you create. You're not even going to get this extent where you have to break permissions. You're basically just going to make 3 users, 3 groups, and you're gonna have your folders, and I'm gonna tell you, put this group to this folder, this group to that folder, that group to this folder, and I'm probably might have you break inheritance on one of them just so you guys get used to doing it. Let me go right here again. What I'm doing, what you see here, what I just did, all these changes and everything, I'm not going to require you to do it for the final, but I do want you to have an understanding of it. So, again, I recommend make your labs, practice, make different, just do different scenarios. Just play around with it, get used to it. This in depth, when you start dealing with security groups and protocols, you're usually going to be doing it in what's known as an AD or Active Directory environment. And this stuff is mainly if you're going to be taking security classes, network or system server classes, server administration classes, network administration classes. If you're taking type of security, if your course leads you into like IT security, you'll be doing this much more in depth than what I just showed you here. But this is a good step, a good understanding to kind of build that foundation and go up. The A+ just basically wants you to have an understanding of what security groups are, what users are, even go into just basically read, write, list. What list does, it lists everything here. Like when you do the dir on the command prompt and it gives you the list, that's if I don't have this checked, I won't list anything. I can still write, like if I go to a command prompt, just not interested, yes, just kind of give you a quick example here. When I do this, if I don't have it listed, if I don't have that security listed, if I type dir, I get nothing. That doesn't mean I can't. If I currently know what's in there, I can still type. I can still go like grades. Obviously, I can't access denied, but I can still, even if I don't have it listed, if I know it's there, I can still go into it. But really the A+ just wants you to know what type of these controls: modified, read, write, execute, list folders, special permissions. Those are when you get more in depth, like if you want to have people be able to delete or not delete or write or save as. and full control. And you also might hear the term ownership, or who owns the menu, or who owns the file, and that's, or the author of it. That's, you'll see that a lot in Linux and Mac OSs, which is basically like full control. Whoever owns it has control over that file, is able to work with it. And then again, going through your computer management, how to set up a group, how to set up a user, and how to set up a security group. And you remember that you add users to security groups, and then you give permissions to your security groups. You don't even touch your users. You don't even want to give them permissions. You want to give them permissions through security groups. That's if anything from these exercises, as long as you take away that users get assigned to security groups and security groups get assigned permissions, as long as you follow that structure, you'll be fine in your IT career. All right. Like I said, I'll be posting these up. I'll probably break after these go up on D12. I'm gonna be just writing like some little cliff notes on what steps to do the lab, so you can you can just practice what exactly you're gonna need to know for the final, and just work with that. But again, I do encourage you guys to play around and go ahead and print this off. Play around with everything from the command line interface to using diskpart, formatting drives, doing raids, setting up security groups, setting up users, adding groups to different users, logging in, play around, just go crazy, and try to be as so crazy as you can. You try to see if you can break a security group or something. See if you can do security creeps, and that'll just strengthen your IT experience. All right, and if you have any questions or comments, concerns, please don't hesitate. Shoot me a message through D12. I will try to answer as quick as I can.